Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I want to work on this sweet little journal. It's a floral type themed journal. I have been working on, this one is called Fish Stories. I'm using the exact same recipe, if you will, that I used to make this. So let's see what we've got. I've got the cover page. This was made out of Paper's Painter. We've got our pocket page. Now on the fish journal, what we used was vellum. Okay, so just like any recipe, sometimes you don't want to use that same ingredient and you can substitute something else. So instead of using vellum, I use parchment paper here. So what I did with the parchment paper, I took one of these embossing folders, and let me show you how I did it. I took a piece of parchment paper. I just got this one from the dollar store. So I cut off enough so that I would have the width of my book. I folded it in half and then I folded it up. I'm going to run this entire piece through my machine at once. At the top of my paper, I'm putting it into my folder, lining it up. And see, it covers the whole folder, so I'm able to run it through and get this impression and then cut it down to size. Now if you don't have a machine, you can do it individually. You can, let me show you. You can put a piece of paper in like this. Let me grab this one here. You can put a piece of paper in like this, of your parchment or whatever. It's better to do a single page at a time though. And then grab something with some kind of an edge. This is a scissor, something that you can apply pressure to. I know some people use like rolling pins or the end of like something like this, the end, something that pushes so that it's going to apply that pressure, the same pressure that would have been in the machine. So you can tell it's working when you open it up and it sticks to it. Now you're not going to get the same, for the most part, the same kind of impression that you would from your machine, because that's a pretty tough one. Can you see the difference? But you still get a pretty awesome emboss over here. So if you don't have a machine, consider just doing it with muscle power, and you can still get a nice impression. Okay, so I've got my emboss page there, and that's going to be like this right here. Oops, better scooch it over a little bit. It's going to be like that right there, and I will, once we work on it more, I'll put a picture or some kind of floral type thing right there, and I'll do a flip up just like that. So, and then I've got paper. So over here I used coffee dyed paper. Well, I decided I didn't want to use coffee dyed paper here. So this paper is actually a very soft pink. You can see it there. See how it's a beautiful blushing pink? And so all I did was I used a package of Kool-Aid and I added it to 2 cups of water to get this really soft pink color. So it's inexpensive and it's just really quite awesome and it's easy. So I didn't put it in the oven, I dried it with a hand tool. So next time I'll probably just make more and then just dry it on the table, air drying it. If you put it in the oven, you're going to more likely get browning spots on it. But if that's what you want, then you want to do it that way. Okay, where am I at here? So I have this. Oh, that one got pushed. Then I have my page, and then I decided I wanted to put a doily in here. I don't have anything like that in this one. I have another piece of the parchment paper, which is I have right here as well. But I liked having something in there to kind of break up the flow a little bit. So I put a small doily, put another piece of parchment paper, another piece of the copy paper, which was dyed with the Kool-Aid, and then on this middle section I'm doing a little bit different. So with this, if you were to see a recipe kind of idea, I've got the water line there. I didn't want to use a vellum and I didn't want to use a water line, but I really like the idea of using that lower half and putting a half doily there. So I'm going to Mod Podge that on, and then I'm going to do my middle pages. With my middle pages here, I made a pocket using a photo there, keeping the water line, and then a photo here. Well, I don't need the water line. I don't need that over here. So what I'm going to do, I've got this awesome photo that not photo, it's a cutout from one of the paper packs that I've got with the bicycle. So I've got that for the middle. And then I've got this, I'm going to cover the entire back because I don't need that water line. And then I'm going to make the pocket out of this piece instead of a picture. So that's the plan. So let's get working on it. So what do I need to do? I've got that done, that done, that done. What I need to really do is just work on this central portion. So let's work on this part first. Let's Mod Podge that down. So this is a paper Mod Podge that I bought recently. I don't know. It's like that. I really don't know the difference between this and the other Mod Podge, but I thought I would try it out. So I'm going to start by kind of putting stuff on the back here just to get that area secured. Position it. And now I can see where I want my Mod Podge. It's going to go along here and along there. And now I'm going to goop it up to get it so it'll stick down nicely. Okay, there's my finished part. Now the paper has got that soft, beautiful light blush against the white doily. If you want a higher contrast, I mean this is a beautiful color paper, but if you want a higher contrast, do like 1 cup, first try it out with 1 cup per 1 packet of the Kool-Aid, and then you can always add more water if you want it not as pink. So anyway, just a little hint there. Okay, so I have that page ready to go, and now I want to work on these. Let's start with these 2 pages right here. So what I did, I used a page that I already had folded for something else, but how I'm using it, it's not really going to make a big difference. See, it's going to be covered up where that fold line is, so I'm going to go ahead and still use it. I do want to take this and just lightly go over my edges, just because the edges are so white and they draw attention otherwise. So if I were to glue this together just like this, there would be a little bit of give as I open and close the pages. Can you see? Can you see that V line inside there? See how that gives? So like when it's like that, but when I open up the page, it wants to go out. So what I want to do to get around that, I'm going to cut this paper out so that the spine of it won't actually be covering the spine. So it's just going to be laying over the top like that. I'm going to glue them edge to edge at the top, and I'm going to put a little bit of ink here at the bottom where I cut, so that it won't draw too much attention to it. So it's just a little tiny sliver that I cut off to open that area up. So I'll grab my glue. Make sure I get my edges nicely. And then get it on my page. Up to the top and along the edges. So you see how I have this side open. So, and I didn't have to cut it off quite that much. I could have gone a little bit less. I want to avoid this edge having friction from other pages or the movement of in and out. So I'm happy with where I have it. I'm good with it. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and do this paper up and get it down on my page. I like this paper. I like the flowers and the colors. So edge to edge, and there you go. Once I know that it's dry and there's not any glue seepage coming out, I'm going to go again once more and just lightly go over it with my dauber. But see how I have that page? So now I can open it and I'm not having that extra give. So that's going to go in the middle. This is going to go in next, and I do want just a little bit of cover. On the edge, just to give it more feel of a depth. So see, when I put it against there, it just gives it a little bit more depth and definition. You don't have to put this on by any means, but I just wanted to, so I shall. So I'm putting that on both sides, and then I'm going to be gluing it down. So where I'm going to be gluing is here, and here, and here, and here, because I'm going to be using this as a pocket. Since I'm using it as a pocket, I like grabbing a few little scraps and I'm going to put in there just to hold the space. One more thing. I need to put my edges on. So I have these pre-cut. These are 3/4 of an inch, and they're going to go along the edge right here. I don't have to do that, but I did it on the other one, so I thought I'd do it on this one too. It adds just a nice added bit of interest. The details. And I could do the distress ink, but I thought I would just see what it looks like to use a pink, since we're kind of doing the pink tones anyway. So let's see. I've got a lipstick, worn lipstick here. Let's see what this does. So I should, on the back there, I have my dauber. I keep my daubers in that little area there. And we can kind of put this on there. Gives it a little pink blush. And then we'll put that along the edge. So on the other side I can do what this looks like, and just so we can see the difference of which one looks best. So we can do it with just a slight pink blush, going with the pinks and greens, or if we did it the other side, we can have a more antiqued feel to it. Let me turn it. Let me turn it, it's fighting me. It can have a more antiqued look. You know, I actually kind of like the antiqued look with the browning. I'm going to do that. I think I like that better than the pink. The pink is fabulous, but I like the impact of the other. So I'm just going to do that. Decision made. Okay, this one can be put away since I'm not using that, but it was good trying it. I thought that would be a better way to go, but you know, sometimes not. So let's open this up, and I'm going to do this other side. Give it a little personality, and then get it glued up and put on this edge. So since this is longer than that, I'm going to end up cutting it off. So on the edge, you can either have the words the right way or you can have them upside down. Sometimes I put them upside down because I don't want them to feel like they're a part of the actual project. There we go. You know, so it's up to you. That can kind of be confusing for some people too. Actually, ironically, that's what I did on this one without realizing it, because the bicycle is that way. So it's upside down. So there you go. But I don't mind that, like I said, because sometimes I purposely don't want to do that. So I'm going to go a little farther down right there. Just put it along the edge. Right. Nope, right there. Okay, just grab my scissors and I will clip them off, and we are good to go. I like it when I can do something that I don't actually have to measure, that I can just, you know, just like that, just kind of cut the size and make it go. So see the difference on that page with the text on the side? It just adds a little bit more interest to that page. So this goes right here. Since this is not a picture, I'm going to also cut this on the end so I don't have that problem of the paper wanting to buckle up. Okay, it probably would have been smart for me to run it through my cutter. I would have had a better cut. Had I was smart, I would have done that. Okay, so now I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and glue the sides down. Let me move that out. So this is how it goes. I'm going to glue it. That's the spine. I'm going to glue a little bit here and a little bit here to create my pocket. And I'm going to put it in the middle rather than the top of the page. So I got that going there. Now I want to grab my pieces and just tuck them in. The pieces need to be such that they're not going to be touching the glue on the side and get stuck. I want to keep that in mind. So now I'm going to have room to move in and out of that pocket. So with my other page, I'm going to position it as well. Get my glue, but before I get my glue, I want to make sure I have a few scrap pieces that I can tuck in there. Okay, glue it up. Get my base, kind of find the middle. And I'm good to go. Get my extra papers in there to make sure I've got space, so that when I move my other thing in and out, I can do that and not feel like there's not room for it. So you can also, if you want, put glue around the bottom. I didn't put glue along the bottom because it's going to be into the spine, and the thing that we're inserting here, it won't fall through the bottom, so I didn't bother to put glue there. You can, but I didn't. So let's do the next part. Now that I have all the pages complete, at least the bones of the page, of the signature, I want to sew it together. When I sew it together, I'm going to use upholstery thread, and I want it to be at least 3 lengths of the height of my book. I like doing mine just a little bit longer because I'm like that, just to make sure I'm covered, but you don't have to. 3 lengths is a good amount. What I'm going to do right now is walk through my book. I've got my green page. I've got my envelope page. I'm going to kind of scooch it to the middle a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to do the cover. I'm going to hold it to the cover next. I want to make sure that's in the middle in the position that I want. I'm going to take my vellum. That's positioned well. Then my pink Kool-Aid dyed coffee paper. I've got a doily that goes next. Then my it's not vellum, it's my parchment paper. And then my other 2 pieces right here. So you want to make sure that the bicycle is in the proper position. Anything that you have particularly that, you know, goes in one direction or the other, make sure you got that in the right place. So there's the cover of my book. So I'm going to place it in the cover with my bicycle to make sure that it's in the proper direction. And then I'm going to make sure that I have that centered in between the top and the bottom of my book, that I have it in a good spot. Once I have that where I want it, I'm going to grab these clips. The strong clips are better. You can, use whatever you got. If you only have like clothespins, use clothespins, but use something to secure your book down. And I'm also going to put a clip right there. At this point, what I like doing is grabbing a big old book with a nice spine that I can place this down into. If you have something with a valley, something that you can push this down into, you're more apt to be able to get directly in the middle of your journal as opposed to accidentally poke the side of it. Grab your pokey tool, find the center. I'm just going to guess it. I like that spot. And then push through. And then for this one, I'm going like 3/4 of an inch up. If it were a bigger signature, I would be going probably more like an inch from the top or an inch from the bottom. So poke those in. So I have nice holes. They're not big holes, they're holes that are just big enough to go ahead and sew. Get my needle through. So I have my needles all ready, so I'm going to start by putting it in the center. As I pull my thread, I'm going to have a tail sticking out here. I'm going to go ahead and grab, I need to find another clip. I'm going to grab a clip and clip that because I don't want to lose it. Sometimes as you get working on it, you pull it and you pull it through and then you've, all the sewing that you did. You got to start over. So you start from the center, then you're going to hit each of the outside holes and then come back in through the center. So I went through the center, I'm on the outside now, and I'm going to go through either of these holes. It doesn't matter which one you do first, just either of them. Pick a hole, go through it nicely, pull it, go through the other hole, all the way down at the bottom, pull it, and now I'm going to go back in the center. As you go back in the center, this first tail is pulling out to the left. It's on the left side of that middle string, or on your right side. Now I want this needle, I'm gonna bring my needle up so it comes out on this side. That's the goal anyway. If it doesn't work out, I'll adjust it. I have this just taped on initially till I get to that point where I'm ready to do the backing. Okay, so that went up nicely through the hole. I've got the string pulled to this side so that it comes out to this side. I want to take these and pull them tight. I'm going to clip this off, but keep my thread on my needle. I like keeping it on so I don't lose my needle as much. And then pull these nice and tight, and then I'm going to tie a knot. Get my little fingers going. I like keeping a thumb or something down to keep it tight at the bottom, but sometimes the threads are a little curly and so they have a mind of their own, so you have to work it a little bit more. Okay, there's that one, and I'm going to do another knot. I'm going to do a few actually because I can. It holds it nicely. So at this point I can cut my threads a little bit shorter, or I can wait until I'm on this page. I know I'm not going to make them longer than the actual book size, so I'm just going to clip them right there. So there you go. We've got my signature together, and now we can go ahead and begin decorating.